Hello, today I'm giving you an overview and the signs of someone with a secure attachment style. So someone who feels secure and trusting within relationships, connection, intimacy, and I will give you the typical thoughts, feelings, and behaviours associated with someone who feels secure within their relationships. It might be that you are someone who relates to an insecure attachment style and you want to recognize these signs because you know that you want to develop a more secure attachment style, which is very, very possible, by the way. It might be that you're looking at the signs because you know that you want to attract someone more secure into your relationships, into your life. Or it might even be that you've been doing some of this work and you just want to check out if you are relating to some of these signs of a secure attachment style. So I'm going to dive in, but before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Carly Ann. I support you to interrupt and reshape your attachment style, heal past pain, and develop your true sense of self so that you can follow your dreams and have extraordinary relationships in your lifetime. So let me give you an overview of a secure attachment style. So let me say something quite clearly. Someone with a secure attachment style, they are not better than you. They're not a better person or a better human. They just have a different attachment style than you do, okay? And they do still experience fears around love, rejection, dating. They're still human, okay? They have an accurate level of fears around abandonment and rejection, and that's the key thing to remember. Though it's there, it's like this is accurate. It doesn't necessarily hijack them and they lose a sense of self and are unable to function and things like that. And doesn't tend to be like all consuming. They are comfortable with closeness and intimacy and sharing and talking about emotions. At the same time, someone who is secure is also fine with time alone. They don't take that personally. It doesn't equal loneliness. It doesn't mean that this person doesn't love me or want to spend time with me. They are able to communicate and understand their own needs, as well as appreciate their partner's needs, as well as appreciate their partner's well-being. But it's about there being a balance, and they absolutely recognize their own need for love, affection, and all the other needs that we have as people. So that tends to be like a typical overview. In terms of how it develops a secure attachment, why do some people develop a secure attachment versus an insecure attachment? And I do have videos on insecure attachment, both anxious and avoidant, so you can catch up on them, watch them, and get the same signs for those attachment styles as well. But someone with a secure attachment, it tends to be that their caregiver responded to their needs most of the time. They could trust that if they were in need or distress, that their caregiver would be there to soothe them and to help regulate them again, bring them back to a state of safety. They were basically comforted and soothed the way that a child needs to be when they are in a uncertain or scary situation. There is space to explore. So as a child, for example, they were able to go out and play with their friends or go and play with this new toy and try this. It doesn't have to be literally going outside. But there was space to just go and explore the world, knowing that they have a safe base to return to. It wasn't like there's this fear, if I go and do this, maybe when I come back, that person's not going to be there. They trusted that their secure base would still be there. If they made mistakes, if something went wrong, if they messed up, if they were naughty, they still knew that they were going to be accepted and loved and have a safe base to return to. Because we're talking about children, remember. They were safe to be their own self, without punishment, without having to need to be someone else or to please or whatever else it is that sometimes with an insecure attachment style we tend to see. So they're able to be themselves, trusting that that is okay and that is enough. Caregivers provided care, appropriate boundaries, and allow mistakes. And this is really key, that there were boundaries. There were healthy boundaries, and they were modeled to someone who's secure, and it means that they can go on to understand that boundaries are beautiful and we do need them. It doesn't mean that someone with a secure attachment style, their caregivers were perfect and got it spot on all the time, but perhaps if the child was like in a state of distress or dysregulated, if there was a rupture, if perhaps their needs weren't met, it tends to be that after that it was repaired and they were able to regulate again with that safe base to come home to. So typical thoughts for someone with a secure attachment style tends to actually be quite neutral and quite balanced thoughts. So when it comes to time apart from your partner, or spending time with your partner, or having space, the thoughts are quite balanced. They are open to spending time together and time apart. They're balanced about being in a relationship or being single. The thoughts don't tend to be all about blaming themselves or taking it personally or thinking that I'm a bad person and that's why this person wants space, or they're not necessarily thinking that I'm single so I'm never going to meet anyone. It tends to be quite accepting thoughts about themselves and about the situation, and actually their thoughts will kind of just be on their day-to-day life, their next moves, what they need to do, or quite healthy thoughts about meeting someone, or how to say, you know, actually I don't necessarily want to meet you today, but it's not coming from this place of avoidance, it's just actually I might need some space to myself. They don't jump to conclusions. Their automatic thoughts tend to be quite trusting. And this is the thing, they're not like all consumed with the relationships. And I think this is really key. So a lot of the time with the secure attachment, it's kind of easier, especially if you have an insecure attachment, to think about what they're not thinking about in thoughts, because what they are thinking about, just their kind of daily life and living life and, you know, whatever it is that they're up to. So it will continue to be about their own life, not consumed by the other person, and they're not mind reading. So they're not assuming that you want all of their time. They're not assuming that you are going to leave them. It's quite healthy, balanced thoughts. Feelings tend to be quite neutral. They will experience excitement about new relationships and dating when they're interested in someone and it's going well. It's very, very human. It's kind of like that within that expected kind of range, an accurate range of emotion, but very much able to regulate their emotions. Excited, loved, they can be confused, they can be frustrated, but they are able to regulate the feelings, regulate the emotions. But it will tend to be that perhaps, you know, if there is, let's use an example, if there's a gap in texting or something like that, you know, they're not necessarily going to get hijacked by emotion. An accurate level of emotion and physical sensations without misinterpreting them. Behaviours, I kind of mentioned before already, but they will communicate. They are able to communicate. And this is one of the key ways that you're going to know that you're in the presence of someone with a more secure attachment style, because they're going to be open to talking to you about feelings, about what you both want, about what you don't want, about your needs. They are going to be there to ask you questions as well. There isn't this need to play games, to mind read, to guess, because you can have these conversations. And if you're someone who's insecure and is worried about being needy or too much or things like that, you don't really need to, because someone who's secure understands that these kind of conversations happen, especially in romantic relationships, and especially in all relationships. You know, we need to ask questions, we need to communicate. They tend to be quite consistent with their behavior, so you will be able to predict. It will be more predictable. You're not going to be on eggshells, basically. So you will be quite consistent in how you show up, how you communicate, how you present yourself in relationships, in dating. It's not going to be too much just coming randomly out of the blue. But of course, secure people, as I keep saying, are very much human. So sometimes they are going to make mistakes. They're not a robot. They're not always going to get it right. And sometimes there might be some inconsistency, but it will tend to level and balance itself back out. They will involve their partner in decision making. They care about their partner's well-being, spend time apart on their own projects, their own interests. So you will still be following your own fire. You will still be making sure that you focus on your own dreams too. And that's why I first came up with Follow Your Fire. If you don't know, I have a membership for people who tend to lose themselves in love. It is the membership for self-discovery and better relationships, and it's called Follow Your Fire for this very reason, because you have to be working on yourself, growth, and through that you then are more likely to be going outside of your comfort zone to develop your own dreams. And that's really, really key when it comes to being more secure, that you're able to have your own lives but be side by side in that. They will make plans and they will be open to seeing you. So they will be willing to reach out and make that plan with you. They're also going to make plans with other people because you're not going to be the first thing on their mind all of the time. They will have other priorities. They will listen to you. They will hold space. They will understand that you have feelings and emotions, but they might not necessarily always get it, but they will most likely be there willing to have a conversation about it. So that's why you have to be willing to have the conversation as well. Or if you're someone who's secure and your partner is someone who's insecure, then it might be that you need to ask them more questions and just be more understanding of the situation. There won't be game playing. You won't need to be overthinking every single move because there isn't that much going on behind the scenes in terms of, if I say this, maybe then I'll know this, maybe I can test this, and if I do this and if they do that. It will tend to be more or very open and easier. And that's why it's really important that if you're someone who relates to an insecure attachment style, that you can start to adopt these as well, because the way that someone with a secure attachment, or yourself if that's you, are able to behave in these ways and think and feel in these ways, it makes sense that you want to experience that as well. So it's really important that we try and develop our own sense of security within relationships as well, especially if we are serious about having a meaningful, healthy, secure relationship. That is truly what I believe. And like I say, wherever you are on your journey, if this is something that you are wanting to develop more of, you want to go deeper on, then I really, really do recommend that you watch my 3-part course, Attachment Styles, the Next Level, because in that I introduce you to your own cycles. When we look at these signs that I've gone through today, we will look at your signs, your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors. I've done my best to make it as much as like a one-to-one experience as possible. And it's not just that. We also look at the habits, the kind of protective self, the unhelpful habits a lot of the time that you have developed along the way, so that you can start to peel back the layers, start to break free from unhealthy patterns. And again, I give you direct exercises in this free course to help you to be able to do that. The idea is to help you to go to your next level when it comes to becoming secure. So I hope that you found that useful. Like I say, you've got my free course, you've got my membership. I also offer one-to-one support as well. You do not have to do this alone. In fact, I recommend that you don't do this alone. If you are seeking that secure self, get help as you do it. Create community, educate yourself. There's so many beautiful shifts that come from really diving into this work. So I'm Carly Ann. Do not forget, you're enough, you are lovable, you are so, so worthy, and you are irreplaceable.